Hey y'all, I'm going to show y'all how to make old-fashioned goulash. Okay, this is a meal that my mama made. Between goulash and pinto beans, that's probably all we ever ate at home. But her goulash, there's one ingredient that I add to my goulash that she didn't. Okay, I've changed it just a little bit. But anyway, I'm going to show y'all how to make goulash. It's so simple. All you're going to need is some hamburger meat, and for this meal, I'm just going to use 1 pound, okay? So this will do probably about at least 4 servings, maybe more, okay? Depends on how big of an eater you are, but so a pound of ground beef, okay? I'm going to cook 2 cups of elbow noodles. And remember, just like with the ground beef, you can do ground turkey, ground chicken, ground pork. You can use any kind of meat you want. With the noodles, you can use different noodles. You can use bow tie, pasta. You can use the spiral ones. Y'all, you can use any kind, whatever kind of noodle you have on hand. Noodles are noodles, okay? Okay, and for the seasonings, okay, it's real simple. We're going to, well, I'll get to the seasonings. We're going to use this is a 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, okay? We're going to add a can of diced tomatoes. A lot of times I may not have diced tomatoes and I'll leave it out. My kids really prefer no tomatoes, but to make it go further, and my mama always put tomatoes in it, okay? Diced tomatoes. So anyway, we're going to use a 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, and this is a 14.5-ounce can of diced tomatoes. Of course, you can leave this out, but you really can't leave out the tomato sauce, okay? Then we're going to add, of course, salt and pepper we're going to salt and pepper our meat. The pan's getting hot. And we're going to add garlic powder, okay? So that's just what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ingredients. But what I add that my mama didn't add is ketchup, okay? And it gives a little bit of sweetness. I don't know why I started adding ketchup. I don't know if when Gerald and I got married and I started making goulash, I don't know when I started adding ketchup or even why, but I add ketchup, okay? So let's put our meat. I've got it on medium. My skillet on, looks like medium. A lot of times I use turkey meat, and I just have turkey meat or deer meat, and I just happen to have a pound of ground beef. And it looks like it's still, okay, y'all, it is still froze. So, simple solution. I'm going to put a lid on it and let it thaw. And the reason why I say that is because I'm coming across a lot of people that don't, I could put it in the microwave, but then sometimes, but what I'm saying is I come across a lot of people that don't know even the basics. So that's why I'm giving y'all the elementary basics. But I could put it in the microwave and microwave it for a few minutes. But sometimes then you risk getting it done too much. I'm turning it, let's see, my noodles aren't getting hot. Or my water's not getting. We're going to turn that up just a hair. Okay. So I've got my meat on, and we're going to start getting it thawed. And I will take a fork, and y'all will see how I do it. I'll take a fork and scrape off the brown part, the cooked part. So I got my meat cooking. I've got my noodle water here getting hot, and I just like, that's maybe 2/3 of a pan, and is it on high? Yeah, it's on high. And then, and what you do with to cook the pasta is you get your water to boiling, and then you dump in your pasta, okay? Another idea that I have done before is added corn, frozen corn to my goulash. That's an idea, and it's really good. Or if you don't have any frozen corn, get you a can of whole kernel corn, a can of it, drain off the juice, and then add it to your goulash when you add your noodles. And I will show y'all what, because you've got to get your meat done before you add your noodles to it. Or that's how my mama done it, and that's how I do it. I cook my meat. Once my meat is done, I add my cooked noodles and my tomatoes and garlic and all that stuff to it, and then let it simmer a little bit. And that's cooking pretty fast. Now for side dishes, this meal I'm making, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, but I'm making this for supper tonight because you can heat it up. It's easy heatable, meal. But for side dishes, I will make those tonight because we usually always have mashed potatoes with our goulash. Sometimes we have fried potatoes. And then our yellow squash is coming off in the garden, so I may fry up some squash. But I won't know now I won't know if I'm gonna do that till this evening. But if I was cooking this meal all together, like if it was this evening, I would already have my squash on one burner, and I would be cooking the squash and the mashed potatoes or fried potatoes with my goulash. I wouldn't, do one thing at a time. But to do the video, it was easier for me to do the goulash this morning and video it, and then later this afternoon or evening, one of the girls will help me fix the fried squash. Oh, fried squash is so good. Everybody fixes squash different, okay? And see what I do with my meat is I just scrape it off, the cooked part. And I can already hear people, why didn't you stick it in the microwave? Well, I don't want to. It's easier for me to do it this way. I'm going to turn it down just a hair. But anyway, on the squash, it's funny because my mama, she would take squash and she would cut it up, thin, real thin, round slices. And this is the way I learned how to do it is she would cook that squash. She'd fill her bottom of her pan with oil, and she'd cook that squash. She'd take her squash, cut it up, put it in cornmeal, salt and pepper. And I need to do a video on that. And she salt and pepper and cornmeal it, and then when the oil got hot, she'd lay one layer of squash down, and then she'd take a fork, and when one side got done, she'd flip each little squash over. And what was so cute is, that's a hard way of doing it, but that's the way that I watched her do it. So she would, flip over each little squash and cook it one layer at a squash at a time. And what's funny is my daddy would come through. Of course, when she got some done, she'd put them on a paper towel, to drain. And then she'd put another layer and be cooking that. Well, he'd come through, and while she was cooking, he'd eat her one she'd already had done and put it on the paper towel. So by the time, supper was here, me and my sister, we probably done the same thing. We probably come through and took the squash that she'd already cooked while she's standing there cooking them one at a time. And that's the best way to cook them. I mean, it is. I mean, it tastes so good just cooking each one and getting them crispy. But the last few years, the older I've gotten, I found another way to do it because that's not the way Gerald, my husband, that's not the way he learned to cook squash. Okay, his grandmother would get the oil hot, and she'd just, she'd cornmeal and salt and pepper her squash, and then she'd dump all the squash into a pan, and then just took a spatula and kept flipping it, and then it was all mushed together, but it got crispy. Well, that's not the way I learned to do it, but the older I've gotten, it's an easier way. So if I'm just cooking the squash for like just me and Gerald, I do it one layer at a time because it's so much better that way. Woo! But turn it down. But it's not the easiest way when you're fixing for 6 people. Okay, we're gonna turn that down because it'll pop me. But sometimes you get in a hurry and turn stuff up a little bit too high, but that's okay. Our water is almost boiling. Like I said, we're gonna do 2 cups of noodles. Are you hungry? I'm waiting for it's almost a boiling point. But nothing beats fried squash, a fresh tomato out of the garden, some onion out of your garden. I actually have tomato and onion and squash all coming off right now. Of course, the onion's been done for a while. They get done, or they are ready a lot quicker than the other items. The see how this is just breaking apart? Most of my kids would rather have mashed potatoes more than fried potatoes, but I was raised on fried potatoes, pinto beans, and cornbread, and I don't know if I ate the onion back then, but it was all, I know we had pinto beans a couple times a week, and we had goulash. It's funny, when I met Gerald, he talked about when he was younger, he'd cook for himself, and he talked about how he'd go to his freezer and pull out a steak, and I'd be like, you had steak? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, not once do I remember as a kid ever having steak. I don't remember ever. So when we got married, I didn't like steak. I mean, I'd never had it. We'd go somewhere, he'd order steak, but I wouldn't, because I never had it, and I think I might have tasted of his, but I didn't really, like it, I guess. But as a kid, we always, hamburger meat, my mama, if it couldn't be made with hamburger meat, it couldn't be made. I mean, she would take hamburger patties and fry it like chicken fried steak. She'd take hamburger patties, wrap it in bacon. She made a lot of goulash. We ate a lot of goulash and a lot of pinto beans. And it's just funny how people, different lifestyles, because Gerald, that was the norm for him. He just went out to his freezer and got a steak and cooked it. And I'm like, I never once remember having steak. I think my daddy just liked beef, like ground beef, because, well, and maybe they couldn't afford steak, but I don't remember eating a lot of chicken either. It was usually some type of ground beef, either like, patty wrapped in bacon or chicken fried steak. You take your hamburger patty, dip it in flour, salt and pepper, and fry it. That was our like hamburger steak. And then we'd always have mashed potatoes, pork and beans, and corn. That was like every meal. Okay, this is almost, I'm going to go ahead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drain the grease off. And I know this is a big deal on one of my last videos. I'm going to go run my hot water. We live out in the country, we have our own septic system. And I'm going to drain this grease. I'm going to run hot water. And just put some Dawn dishwashing soap. And I'm going to drain my grease down my plumbing over here. I have a lot of people argue with me, say I'm wasting water. I'm on to stop at my sinks. I've lived here over 15 years and never have had stopped at plumbing. Hot water, Dawn, we'll get it through. So I'm just telling y'all that because the people will be coming at me. Okay, let's get my hot water going. And I think my pasta water, I don't know if y'all can see it, it's boiling. I'm going to add 2 cups of noodles. There's 1 cup. I'll add 2 cups. Might turn it down between medium and high, just down this here. Okay. Probably won't need, well, maybe not guess I need it. Okay, I'm going to take my lid on my hamburger meat. I like to rinse the grease off of my hamburger meat, and I'm doing it with the wrong hand. I'm doing it with this hand. We'll let that water over there run a little bit longer. I'm done with those forks. Okay, so this is on medium, y'all. And our meat is brown. I think y'all can see that, can't y'all? Okay, I'm going to give my noodles a stir if I can find it. just to make sure they're not sticking. I turn them between medium and high, and they're not sticking. Okay, to this meat, the ground beef, I'm gonna go ahead and open up my diced tomatoes. Add in my diced tomatoes. Okay, I have my 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. Tomato sauce, okay. Keeping an eye on my noodles, make sure they don't boil over. Okay, I may add just a couple tablespoons of water to get the extra tomato sauce out. That was about 2 tablespoons of water. Okay. Hey Gabe, would you get me the little, thanks the pink, or you can get me the blue colander, please, baby. It's down here under the toaster thing. Okay. Now we're going to add some pepper. Make sure our noodles are sticking. And they are. Turn them down to medium. Can you find it, baby? Yes. Yeah. Just said it, please, right up here on the counter. Thank you. Okay, so pepper. Of course, I always take my lid off because I don't want to sit there to shake forever. I know. So, you pepper to taste. Everybody, I like a lot of pepper. Okay, some people don't like a lot of pepper. Let's look and see how long this video is, because I'm not sure how long they can be. Okay, so there's some salt. Okay, on the garlic powder, I will measure it out for y'all. I'm going to turn that on low because it's trying to bubble, and I'm not ready for it to bubble yet. Okay. We're going to do a teaspoon of garlic powder. Okay? And I will taste of it here in a minute. Because like I said, I use it, I don't measure, so we'll let that simmer a little bit. Okay, on the ketchup. Again, I don't use a measure, I just squirt, but I want to say it's probably 1/4 of a cup. And I'm not going to measure it out. Let's see. I'm imagining 1/4 of a cup. Okay. And that'll just give it a little bit of sweetness. You could always, at this point, add you a can of corn or some frozen corn. Some noodles. And I may not need that colander. Sometimes I think I just take them from one pot to another. Let me see. See if they're done. Not done yet, but if they'll simmer, they're almost there. We'll let them boil just for a few more minutes. And with this, I'm gonna taste of this and see if it needs any more garlic powder. No, it's probably pretty good. We may not need that because I think I have it. Just do it. This one's got bigger. Just a little bit, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put these noodles, because they are just about done. and let them simmer in this. Let's turn off our noodles. And what we're going to do is we're just going to drain these. I know pasta noodles, a lot of times you rinse them, but you don't have to for this. I was getting the colander because when you're cooking for a video, you're thinking, you're sometimes not thinking like you normally would. You wouldn't understand it probably unless you tried to do a video. And tried to get your words straight, try to get the amount straight, and try not to say noodle instead of bow tie or something. Plus we're getting a little bit of that water, which will give us a little bit more juice. Gabe, what'd you find you'd eat?
Cheetos.
Oh, you eat Cheetos. You snacking. Okay, this is almost, I think I almost have them all. This is so easy, and y'all, you could always add more noodles. If you want it to go farther, you know, trying to save some money, add more noodles, add another can of diced tomatoes, add another small can of tomato sauce. I'm gonna add just a little bit more ketchup. I can just tell from looking, I've made it enough that it needs some more ketchup. My mama would be like, ugh. My mama, see, Gerald likes ketchup. Ketchup, we've made chili for years, and he's always, chili, I want to taste the chili. He adds a ton of ketchup to it, and crackers, and I do crackers, but I'm like, you can't taste the chili for all the ketchup. So he's probably the one that got me started adding the ketchup in the goulash. Y'all, doesn't that look good? Can y'all see that? Doesn't that look good? So we're going to let that simmer just a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and taste it and make for sure that I have enough garlic powder. People around here in my house love garlic powder. A teaspoon is enough for most people, but for us, I think it's going to need another teaspoon. Okay, like I said, it's probably enough for most people. So I'm going to add another teaspoon. And I already put my teaspoon thing up, but I know what I'm doing here. So I think 2 teaspoons for my family would make them happy. Taste those noodles and see how those noodles are doing. Okay. Noodles are almost there. Okay, so let's talk about what was in it. We had a pound of ground meat. You can do ground beef, ground turkey, ground chicken, deer, anything, okay? We had 2 cups of noodles. Remember, y'all, you can use any type of noodle or pasta, whatever you want to call it, noodle pasta, okay, whatever. We had a can of diced tomatoes. I think these said Italian style. Any type of diced tomatoes will work. If you have tomatoes from your garden, you can add those. 1 can of tomato sauce. We had ketchup, 1/4 of a cup. And then if you think it's not sweet enough, you can always add more. And then we had garlic powder. 1 teaspoon to 2 teaspoons. Depends on what you like, okay? You brown your meat, and you boil your noodles, cook your noodles, okay? Then once your meat is done, you add your tomato sauce and your tomatoes, and you add your noodles, and then you can add your seasonings. checking to see if it has enough garlic. It probably does. Much better. It really needs 2 teaspoons, y'all. So, I will set, once this gets done, and it's just about there, the noodle is just barely not ready. But the seasonings and everything in it's ready. And so what I do is I'll set it to the side, and then this evening, I'll make either cream potatoes or fried. I don't know yet. But definitely I'm gonna fry up some squash. Get one of my daughters to help me. And I probably won't do a video, but I'll eventually do a video of some fried squash, but probably not tonight. I don't know. You never know. And then you could always, I won't do it tonight, but you could always make you some garlic bread or buy you some garlic toast in the freezer section. I probably won't do that tonight. One, I don't have any, but I always have light bread. Y'all, you can do so much with light bread. You just take you some bread, smear you some butter on it, sprinkle you on some garlic powder, put you some cheese on it, and bake it in the oven. You have garlic bread. And for the kids, I might do that. I was thinking more of the big toast, and I don't have any, but just for the kids, because I probably won't eat any of the garlic, the bread that we make. But for the kids, I may put some on, and because I'll usually get a pan and just line it with light bread. And like I said, spread butter on the bread, garlic powder, sprinkle some cheese, and then bake it until the cheese is melted. And then you have garlic bread. So, I am going to and I think this is about done. See if I can't get y'all a little bit closer of a picture without dropping my phone in it. Or I can bring it up to y'all. But anyway, that is goulash, how my mama showed me to make it, except for the ketchup. Y'all, she would not like the ketchup. She'd frown on the ketchup. But that's okay. Everybody adds things. And if you want it more, because I'm sitting there looking, it doesn't have a lot of juice to it. Everybody's different. Some people like their goulash with a lot of liquid. Some people don't. It could use to me a little bit more liquid, but I'm going to leave it alone because it's fine. The kids will like it, and I'm not going to eat that much of it. I keep taking bites. But mainly I'm tasting of the juice to see if it needs seasoning. I'm going to taste of a noodle. Let's see if the noodle's done. Almost. Still needs just a little bit. Okay. Y'all get to cooking. Make y'all some old-fashioned goulash. And remember, you can add more noodles if you want it to go farther money-wise. Add more tomatoes, add more sauce. It'll feed more people. But y'all just enjoy.